Hey, welcome to learning about carving lino. Well, this is the way I do it, and I'd like to think that it's worked well for me over the years. I have my three favourite tools here. I have a Flex Cut Super Mini Micro, which will be great for all these details. I have a larger V tool here that will go in and around, and then I'll have a U tool, which is a fell one as well, and I'll pop all those links in the description. Now these essentially will be the three tools that I will be using. Now you can sub out pending what box set you get with Flex Cut. They have exactly the same in here, and that would work as well, and they come in a couple of sizes. So essentially you could get the box set of the Flex Cut and you could basically do what you need to do here. I have no rhyme or reason as to why. I'm just going to pop those to one side and here. But what I want to introduce you to, so part of this subscription membership, obviously the first week we're going to be doing a peony. Moving forward, I want you to use this as a resource for how you think about carving your block in future weeks. So 99% chance you may have even missed this month to be able to do this particular design. Ignore this cross line through here. It is nothing other than a mark on a lino. It has no rhyme or reason as to why. I want to show you a few things that I think that I've done wrong already. See all this gap down here? I've wasted all this lino down here. So essentially what I will end up doing is cutting this out, and then I'll have this useless bit of block of lino down the side. So think about your placement on your lino when you are applying. So hopefully you have not done what I've done here. And then look at where you're going to carve. I've popped in a border so these flowers look as though they're coming out, which will give us a focus of energy and interest within that. So what I'm going to always do and suggest you do for a start, this is a great way of warming up your carving skills, but I would be removing these larger sections in and around the flower for a start. So getting rid of those and then working around here. And again, we don't need to carve all the way out here, and we don't need to carve all the way out there unless we're doing a two colour. And in this case, this is only going to be a one colour, I think. But I would carve, I've got a marker, which I'll show you what I do with that later. I'd probably only carve, about that far out, and then remove it with a pair of scissors. So with that said, I'm going to let my dog out because he's here in the studio and he's standing by the door, and we will start carving. Okay, we're back. I have my glasses on and I'm going to find my large V tool. We are always going to be working away from our chest. Why, you ask? Well, I don't want to be stabbing myself. I don't want to be stabbing my finger either. So we're going to be working away and we're going to be removing this. So I have got my V tool, and again, you can use a smaller one than this, but this is my trusty steed. I am going to be running it down the edge, and you can see where my fingers are. I like to guide with this finger, and I'm going a bit crooked and I'm not going in quite tight enough, so I'm going to run down here. And you don't need to carve fast, and you don't need to carve ferociously. And then once I get to this little leaf here, you just sort of stop. And because I've drawn in this line with a ruler, I can see along the edge here where I am stopping and starting and how straight it is. So it is very much just getting this nice, slow, controlled, straight edge all the way along. Some people use a knife tool, and I probably should experiment with that. Let me get those out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is come up to that edge. So we're running up this leaf and we're going to stop in the corral that we've just carved. So then we don't run the risk of overshooting. If we carve down here, we run the risk of coming into this petal, and we don't want to because this is a key petal. It's quite important. If it was one of these ones in here, we could probably get away with it, but because it's around the edge, we don't want to be coming down into it just in case. So we're going to come up. And up we come and we stop. And now we've got this beautiful sharp corner here. Have a look at that. It's nice. And our petal still remains. So now what I'm going to get you to do, we've done that way, is we are going to just come around the edge of the petal very slowly. And again, if you don't trust yourself, turn your plate around. Come back up to that line. So the last thing you want to do is have dents in your petals. Well, any more than you need to. We can fudge it, but at the same time, we don't want to have to either. So we will come around like this, slowly but surely. I might just zoom in a bit for you so you can really see it. So now we come up and around this one, like so. And I'm going to come down here by this petal. Oh no, it's a leaf actually. Run around. And again, very slowly, keep your fingers out the way. Now, ignore that big black line that was drawn on there for another purpose, for something else. What it was, I cannot remember. Let's come around here. Just checking that I've still got it in frame for you. And we'll just kick it out. Come back in here and come around the edge. And we'll just kick it up. So then we can get this really nice little shape, because leaves just don't go, they kind of, they have some motion, and that's one way of getting some motion into it. So now we'll come down the stem and around through here. So down the stem, fingers out the way, carving really slowly. Guide your tool with your other hand, and then we will come up this side of the petal, fingers out the way, guide with your other hand, like that. So it's not a fast thing to do, very meditative, but yeah, so now we've got all this here that has been outlined, and we've got, you know, you can just kind of, it's not deep. We've literally just taken the edge off. If I show you, get it back in focus. You know, you can see on my fingernail, it's just there, around through there. So now we're going to remove this big chunk. So I'm going to change my tool. So we've been using this one, which is a V tool. We are now going to find my other favourite tool. Now these are both fell tools, but what I'm going to do is, because I love them equally as much, I'm going to get my flex cut tool. It sits differently in the hand compared to the round, equally as comfortable. So what I'm going to do now, we've done this shape here, we're going to get rid of all this. Now the other thing I want to mention to you is we're looking at the picture as a whole. So we're going to have accidental marks, and also I like to have lines of movement. Some people call them chatter, some people just call them crap. But what I like to do is, because this line is so strong across the top, we will be carving in this line. So it's going that way. But then as we're going around here, we're going to be carving around the leaf. So if it does leave some chatter, it will look as though that leaf has given it a little bit of a wiggle. And you'll notice in a lot of my work, I intentionally don't carve cleanly because I like to make it look as though my petals are shimmering or moving within the breeze, and it gives you that movement so it's not a static print. So as we're carving, think about the direction of which way you're carving. So I will be carving up this way around the leaf, and I will intentionally probably leave a little bit of chatter as such, but more so I'll probably leave it around this side. And here I think would be another really nice place to just leave a few extra little lines, and just to create a little bit of interest. And it might be nice just to give some here, maybe down here. But otherwise just keep it really clean. And that's the other thing I like to do, is I will be gifting you my designs, but it's these little things that will make it uniquely, these little things, now that I've got it in viewfinder, that will actually make your design yours and uniquely you. So whilst it is my design that I'm gifting you, think about these, draw them in with a Sharpie. I like blue, don't know why, but it gives us a nice way of shadow. In my other videos also, I've talked about drawing over the top with a Sharpie to keep it in, but because this particular design is so fine, by drawing over the top of a Sharpie, we will be losing some of these details that I've already popped in. So I'm not doing it in this case, but if you feel a little bit nervous about how thick your line should be, do go around and add it. It won't do you any harm whatsoever, and it will actually help you with your shadows. So in here it will be darker, and this is what I like about Sharpies. We can add these lines in to remind us when we're carving that this has to stay and all this light grey has to go. So let's stop talking and let's get carving. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to bring you in a bit closer, so we're up close and personal, and we're going to remove this top section. So with my U tool, again, I'm guiding, it's lovely and sharp, and I'm going to stop a little bit out because remember I said I'm going to put those in. And again, you don't need to, I'm just going to keep that nice and clean there. So I'm going to bring this down like so. Just keep it nice and clean and flat. Oh, this, I really, really enjoy the smell of lino, I must say. So I'm just going to remove those little ridges there, so then it's all flat and there's less chance of you picking up the actual ink there later. Just need to come out a bit because I really probably should cut this whole block, but I haven't. So now I want, where's my tool? This one. I'm going to come in here, fingers out the way, and come around and leave these little bits of chatter just as points of interest. So then come around here, stop up there, and I've taken most of that out actually, I think. Oh no, there's still some there. don't want that tall. Yeah, that will be fine. Probably, let's go. I don't want a big line. I do want just a little bit, and you can just see little hints. For some reason I've got a bit of hay fever today, so I'm going to try not to sniff. We've had a weather change and it's playing up with my nose. And I'm going to do this bit here as well while we're doing these little fine bits. I guide with my finger, and then that will just give us a little bit of interest. See those little bits down there? And then grab this and just get rid of that. Perfect. So that whole corner's done now. I'm going to now run around here, like so. Get rid of that. What's that been doing? And now, in case I overshoot or anything like that, I'm just going to continually go up around this leaf in the same direction, but it's pretty flat in there. Now, just get rid of all these. Come on. That went a bit deeper than normal. I think I might have to change my glasses. Oh, that's a bit better. Got my super strong glasses here on my head, and because I'm not doing super fine stuff, they were just a bit intense. Get rid of all of those. Just check that you can still see what I'm doing. I'm coming up around here, carving. Now fast forward if this is completely boring, and then just stop when you need it. So we've got this whole chunk, but I'll show you this a little bit around here. Now I'm going to bring this back around because I want to do this. Whoops. I want to do this section here. I'm going to switch over to a finer tool, which is this one here, and just come around my leaf really carefully. And I want to give a little bit of a movement in here, which I guess is kind of a signature Sally move. And we'll just do that like that. And you can see it here. See those two little grey bits? They're going to print. Now, the rest of it here, I might just... And again, the beauty of this, if you hate these little wiggle marks, you know, like this little bit here that stayed. Let me zoom in and show you. If you hate these little hickeys when you put it on press, just pull it off and get your tool and carve it out. You may think, Sal, this looks messy, I hate it. But these, what I classify, are your character marks. This is a signature to the hand printed medium. So now this section is removed and I've warmed up to the whole carving. So I'm going to move on and continue around the edge and get rid of that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to do a leaf. That's not a leaf, that is a petal. That is a leaf. Okay, so go on, do the outside of your lino, your design, do the outside. So think about your design, do all those really big areas, you know, down here, around here, in amongst all that, which will just get you warmed up in the mind about what's coming, what's going, introduce some little doohickeys if you'd like to, and then we will work on this important bit in the middle here and then come back out. So normally what I would do is work on all this middle cluster of the petals and then slowly come out of the flower. So I hope that has helped you. Continue, and in a minute I'll show you what happens in here. Now see down here I have some little, what some people would call chatter lines, and you can see here as well how this is looking, so that will print up nice and fine. So let me just zoom out and let's do the rest of this leaf here. Why am I calling it a leaf all the time? It's a petal. It's a petal sound. Petal. So I'm going to come down around that way. Get these others out of the way. Come around the edge. In all cases. And then what we'll do is carve down and into our petal. So we'll just come back here and we'll just carve down. And whether we're working from the top or even, you know, sometimes I go halfway down, and because I know that all this top bit is going to be removed, that makes it really easy. And then we'll just bring all those lines. Now remember to carve on the flow of the petal too, so that will enhance that movement. So we've got all of that there. I've taken away the top. I need something a little bit wider and bigger. Just going to get a bit more of this away from up the top here. I don't want to sort of create any extra marks up here, but I do want, because that's where the light is going to hit. That's that, you know, if we were shining a torch, this is where I want it to be as white. I'm just sort of flicking these bits out. Because this is where I want it to have all its highlight, and I want it fairly clean. Well, I want it really clean up here actually. And then we're going to have a line here, and you can see that line forming. You can see how it's quite... So, to get rid of that, turn it around, go back to our fine tool, and then we are going to run back up within. Now, yep, you can still see it. And we're going to add in other little lines in these lines to ensure that we don't have this hard line. You can see how that's softening over here. I've still got some work to do this side. We'll just keep looking, checking, and removing. And if you know you've got lines in here, they're a bit wide, and this is where it helps by having it tinted, because otherwise your lino would be this colour and yeah, you would see nothing. It's near impossible. Well, it is impossible, and especially for detailed work. So I am pretty happy with that petal now. Just going to come around the top here and just tidy up some of those marks with, when I pick up the right tool, because I've got my close-up glasses on, I can't really see, because I really don't want any noise up there, so I want that as smooth as possible. See how this is smooth? That realistically, unless you over ink in such a way, sorry, you missed that again. Such an amateur. I just went over with this U tool to smooth over that because I want that to be a highlight. So this is how I'm going to do the remainder of the flowers. Is I'm going to carve in my highlight for a start. I'm going to come down into my shadow. And this is how I always work. You carve away with your light source, come down to your shadow, and then you work out, like this little one in here is looking a bit odd. That might, you know, essentially all print nicely. As to how much perfection, there's probably a few little marks up there that I don't quite like. But again, I'm going to leave that for the moment. I'm going to go on and work onto this one and then come down, do this center, and then move out from my flower and get it done. So work with your V tool, your smallest V tool for a start, and go around the edges and then come in, and then to tidy up and to make sure that you don't have any sort of chatter, work with a very small U tool, and both the fell and the flex cut have some very small U tools, and just tidy up in those highlights to remove any risk of you accidentally picking up some chatter, and then it will just be clean. But again, once we do our first test print, that's where we edit, we tidy up and go forth from there. So I'm going to leave you with that there now, and then I will come back to you later to show you how it has finished carving, and it will look stunning. But I won't bore you for the next 6 hours. So do your background, do your petal, and then work on the center and work out. So there's a bit of a strategy to looking and assessing your print each time. But I hope that has helped you. I'm Sally the printmaker, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.